Scoodly doodly doo, it's time for another Welch review.
Hey gang, welcome to another thrilling adventure of the Welch review.
Yes.
Today we're talking about a film I had heard about and avoided because it scared me. And then
Sam, you're claustrophobic.
Yeah, because I'm claustrophobic as a mofo. And then Sam was like, "Hey Dad, you know what we should watch?"
I didn't say that to him. He's not. I don't call him Dad.
No.
Or Daddy.
He's talking. That'd be real weird. He's talking to our dad, Carrie Stephen Coles Welch.
Yeah.
And said we should watch As Above, So Below because, not just because it's like, the fall, which is synonymous with horror, but because we've been on a horror movie kick.
We watch a lot of horror movies with our father.
So, in this movie, you have Perdita Weeks as Scarlett, Ben Feldman as George. He's actually, he's in that show Superstore.
I like that show. Is that show still on?
I don't know.
I don't think
look
it is.
into that. You have Edwin Hodge as Benji. You have Francois Seville as Papillon.
Francois.
You have Marion Lambert as Susie. You have Ali Marhayar as Zed. Cosmo Castro as La Tope, which I think means the mole. And then Hamid Dijavadan as Reza. My apologies if I butchered any of your names. And it's directed by John Eric Dowdle, and it was written by John Eric Dowdle and his brother Drew.
Nice.
So Sam, since this was like something you suggested, why don't you tell us like what's the basic plot, the premise?
So, in As Above, So Below, what you got going on is you got this lady who's chasing this very special stone called the Alchemist Stone. I'm pretty sure it's the Alchemist Stone.
It's either that or no, the Philosopher Stone.
Philosopher Stone, that's it. But it's made by alchemists, and it does alchemy. So basically, she's chasing the Philosopher's Stone, which her dad had been trying to find when he was still alive. He's dead now. So she's trying to find it. It leads her on all of these wacky adventures, but the one that we focus on is her adventure in France through some catacombs where she forces her friend, who's good at
George,
fixing stuff. Her friend George to help her crack this code. And there's a little bit of a love affair in the past with her and George. There's also like some conflict with George in the past, but that's not really that important because it all gets ironed out as we go throughout the movie. So anyways, they hook up with these dudes because they figure out that they need to go underground to find the Philosopher's Stone, and the only way to get underground in France is through the catacombs. They're at least the part of underground that they need to go to. So that's when they hook up with Papillon, who is famous for spray painting what he calls pap smears on the walls. That's what he calls his tag. Actually, that might not be, but I think
that's
funny.
pretty good.
Yeah. So, anyways, he's got he tags the walls and stuff. I don't know. Pap is a spelunker, a modern day spelunker in modern day caves made by men. And his elite crew of also spelunkers.
An urban spelunker.
Yeah, an urban spelunker. Come with him, of course, and they're all kind of cool. Like this movie has some fun characters, but we'll talk about that later. So they go spelunking down into these catacombs to find the Philosopher's Stone, and ultimately they go a little too far, and they wind up at the gates of hell, and then it becomes very Dante-esque as they descend through different portions of hell until they can finally find, until they hope they can find an escape. So we won't spoil too much more, but now we'll start talking about some of the characters. And actually, it's not the main character, but it's the one that I appreciate the most. And how do you feel about Papillon?
I think he's very charismatic. You know what I mean? Like he's the loose cannon.
Yeah.
He's also, I feel like, there for comedic relief in some cases.
Sort of, yeah.
Like he's also
he is
like
funny.
Him and Ben, I would argue, or not Ben, sorry, George. George and Pappy, I would say, are the two like that kind of conflict with Scarlet, right? Like, you know, like as obstacles. Because Scarlet's very much like Indiana Jones. She's just like, yo, we're going.
Yeah.
This is happening no matter what. And George is like, look it, I don't do this. Right?
Yeah,
so,
let's not steal this art and light the back of it on fire.
Right, so like warning number one, but ultimately he does it.
Yeah.
And then Pappy's like, yeah, man, I go down into the bowels of Paris.
Yeah.
And she's like, great. And then he's like, yo, look it, my dude went down there, didn't come back. I'm not going through there. So they're warning number two.
Yeah.
You know, and like still doesn't listen. So like they're good characters.
Well, Papillon's like a guiding force throughout the whole thing, right? Like you were saying, he's kind of like a voice of reason, but because he has this experience of doing the spelunking.
Yeah.
You know, urban spelunking. It's modern adventure, urban spelunking. But because he has this experience, he knows like the do's and don'ts. And he doesn't hesitate to voice them, which I think makes his character kind of more real, because he isn't just there to facilitate whatever Scarlet wants to do.
Right.
He sets guidelines, he sets boundaries. The only time that he ever breaks those is when he's forced to break them. Like
when they go through that way where there's like we won't. Yeah.
Well, there's one scene where they get kind of blocked off in a way that doesn't make any sense, and Papillon's like, "How does this doesn't make any sense?" And they're forced to go this direction that Papillon knows is dangerous. He knows that it's bad news, and he doesn't want to do it, but they have to do it.
Yeah.
So it's only at those moments that Papillon like wavers on his own ideas. But he's also like kind of full of himself. You know what I mean? Like he thinks that he's awesome, and I think that's where the comedic relief comes through. Because he's like, "Hey, check this out! I spray painted down here. Look at that, pretty cool, right, guys?" Like.
I think for me, my favorite character was I like George a lot, just because I think Ben Feldman is like he as well is good comedic relief. Like he seems very witty and like he's not who you would expect goes on adventures. You know what I mean? Like his character and just his look, he seems like possibly that nerdy guy.
Well, I don't know if I'd say that nerdy guy. Like he's not like your stereotypical geek, but he's like.
So like maybe like he seems like someone who wears Abercrombie and Fitch and doesn't like dirt.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
That's better.
Not the kind of guy in a catacomb.
Right, not someone who goes in a catacomb, but like he plays it very well.
Yeah.
You know, like I thought he was really good. I also thought that George, so Ben Feldman, the guy who was operating the camera.
Yeah, he was awesome.
He was really good. This film also is shot like documentary style. Which is interesting.
Oh, yep.
But I thought that George did a really good job, or Ben Feldman, did a really good job being the camera operator and trying to capture moments that the audience probably shouldn't see, as well as things that they should. You know, he was very good at trying to keep everything level.
Yeah, and he's just also generally kind of funny. And I don't want to make this sound like it's a comedy, because the comedy isn't like overt, right? It's not like slapstick comedy. It's just more like, oh, this is a horrible situation, and the way that guy's kind of
coping with it
isn't necessarily like, I don't know, the humor just seems more real than forced. Think like the original Star Wars, like it has comedy in it, but it's not like intentionally super overt.
Right.
Like it's grounded in what's going on in their storyline, as opposed to like the DC Marvel movies where it's just like, yo, how can we cram some comedy in here? Quick, and this might get us some dislikes, but they do that, and you're gonna have to deal with it.
I would argue, I mean, it's a separate argument, I would argue, though, DC is...
Oh, not DC, I'm sorry. I meant Marvel.
Yeah, Marvel definitely crams comedy to, you know, in place of story or deal with consequences, but...
I think some of the new DC does that, too.
Not Zack Snyder.
No, the Batman versus... Not the Batman versus Superman, but, Justice League.
That doesn't count. That was by Joss Whedon. He ruined it.
Well, hopefully that changes with the new cut that's coming out, but that's a different story.
Right. I would argue, so this is a pretty solid story, like Sam's saying. The one thing I thought they could have done more, or it probably would have made it a different movie, altogether. But I was real interested, like, when they went to the club to find Pappy.
Yeah.
And that one girl kept, like...
Showing up and
glaring at the camera. And then, like, when they're in the catacombs, they see, like, a cult, a voodoo cult or something in there. Yeah. And, like...
She's in it.
Yeah. And I thought, like, it would have gone into a different total thing if it was involved the cult more. But I guess I was hoping it would have been like, oh, we're in these catacombs, and now this cult is gonna, like, chase and kill us and try to ritual sacrifice us. But that's a totally different premise. But that's where I thought it was going. I would have liked if it went that way. I was not a huge fan of the movie. You know, I thought, like, it was well done, but it just didn't connect with me. I thought what they could have done with Dante's levels of hell, I thought that could have been more and enhanced more, and like, I don't know, the creatures, the monsters, the whatever, the beings of those realms could have been something, and they maybe didn't have the budget for it. But either way, not a bad movie, not my favorite.
Yeah, I like this movie. I think that they operated with, like, a relatively small budget, and they managed to make something that that's maybe not super believable, right? Because they're, like, traveling through hell, but you know, it's all very cohesive, and the storyline functions very well. And when they are traveling through hell, while they don't facilitate those things so much, they make a very strong point to show that the different trials that they go through while they're in hell is facing either things that they messed up on or things that they're trying to overcome internally, right, in their own lives. And if they can't, then they perish, then they die. So we won't talk specifics about who dies, but one of the characters dies because his brother had been, like, burnt alive, right, in this car accident that I think he must have been the driver of, and he didn't wind up saving his brother. Well, he doesn't try to save his brother in hell again. He just is like, oh no, you know, you died, like, that it's not my fault, and then he winds up dying because of that. He winds up getting killed because of that, and that's an example of him not overcoming his own fears, his own flaws, whereas other characters do, and they don't die. In fact, they're rewarded.
So if you can't overcome your demons in hell, then you're not going to get the chance to live your life.
Well, not even necessarily just that, but those demons are going to murder you. Because, because hell has real demons.
Because hell has real demons.
At least, you know, in the story. So, yeah, I like the film. I think that they did a good job trying to portray some meaning with their plot. I think that it was an interesting ride. I think that they had a fun take on the Philosopher's Stone, which is a famous alchemical stone that's supposed to heal anything and turn stuff into gold. Yep. And, you know, basically, if you can name it, the Philosopher's Stone can do it. It's pretty magic. So
if you find it, you know, congratulations. But also, you know, we'd like a little chunk of that change.
Yeah. So, anyways, I would suggest watching it. Stefan, maybe not so much. If you're claustrophobic and you want to have a bad time, watch this film.
Yeah, the whole idea of getting stuck. Like, one other thing that should be mentioned is this film does a very good job using the environment.
Yeah.
And their set design is just very, very, very well done. Like, very attention to detail. They do a lot of really good things in it. I guess just didn't connect with me. But a lot of really good things in this film, and the claustrophobia definitely messes with me a lot. But this has been the Welch Review, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.